Assalamu alaikum, dear friends. Welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel where I share what I'm learning about dua and productivity and how they can change our lives. A few weeks ago, I was blessed to go for Umrah, alhamdulillah. I didn't think I would end up going, but somehow things fell into place and alhamdulillah, we made it. It went so well and it was so much better than I imagined. This was my first time performing Umrah as an adult, so of course I had it all planned out. Alhamdulillah. In this video, I want to tell you the 10 things that I wish I knew before I went. These are mostly logistics related, but I'm sure you'll get the ibadah bits covered, inshallah. If not, I will link a video in the description for you to check out. Also, if you need help crafting your dua list before you go for Umrah, I'm hosting a workshop to help you do that, but more on that in a bit, inshallah. All right, so let's dive right in. Tip number one, book a slot for the Rawda early. This is probably the most important tip. You will need to book a time slot to pray in the Rawda in Medina as early as possible. I'm talking weeks in advance if you can. Everyone has to use the Nusuk app to book now, and you can find it on the App Store or the Play Store. I'll share some links in the description. We unfortunately did not get a slot because of this, and we were disappointed. You can still visit the grave of the Prophet ﷺ without needing to book, but entry to the Rawda is strictly through booking. We kept checking the app, but a slot never became available. But I guess if you don't have a slot booked early, you can just keep checking the app. The Nusuk app is also used to book slots to perform Umrah. There are usually slots available on the app, and they didn't seem to enforce this like the Rawda. Tip number two is regarding getting around. I would say either use the green taxis with the meter or sign up for Kareem, which is like Uber in the Gulf countries. You'll save yourself a lot of haggling and a lot of money as well. I cannot haggle to save my life, and it's nice to not have to deal with the back and forth. Honestly, I feel like the second job of Saudi taxi drivers is to haggle. So be prepared for that if your driver isn't using their meter, which automatically calculates your taxi fare. Tip number three, plan your ziyarah in Mecca or Medina using Google Maps. Taxi drivers usually know the best routes and things, but just make sure you take a look at it as well so you know where you're going. Again, use the Kareem app or the green cabs and insist that they use the meter. The cabs will try to convince you that they'll wait for you and take you to date shops and take you around and things, which is a nice gesture. But keep in mind, they are just trying to get you to pay 3 times what you would actually pay. So be prepared. Tip number four, tawaf. We found that the best time to perform tawaf is in the morning between 7 and 11 a.m. This is usually downtime after Fajr when people are resting after Qiyam. May Allah accept it from all of us. These down-ish times are the calmest periods to perform tawaf that we found. You might get close enough to the Kaaba and you may even get to touch the black stone without getting squeezed or squished too much. You can also get to pray your Nawafil prayers just meters away with the Kaaba in clear view, and you'll be able to sit and make your du'as as well. Tip number five is for men, Ihram related. Men are only allowed to do tawaf when they have their Ihram on, and women are allowed in at any time. So remind your husbands to prepare their Ihrams if they want to do any more tawafs. There's a lot of sweating, so they would want to make sure that it's washed and ready to use again. Tip number six, cash. Try to always have cash on hand. Some ATMs and some POS machines only accept local cards, and we found ourselves having to look around for cash on certain occasions. One night after our long day and on our way back to our hotel, we stopped at a store and picked up a few things, only to find out that they didn't accept our cards. The store owner was so kind and he asked us to take what we had already picked out and to bring cash the next day, which was a heartwarming gesture that we accepted. So take your card, but always keep some cash on hand as well. Tip number seven, get a local SIM card. You can get one fairly easy actually around the holy mosques, and it will cost around $30 to have a few gigabytes of data. By the way, do you say data or data? Interestingly, WhatsApp calls don't work for everyone, so you either have to pay more for international minutes or you have to rely on approved apps like Botim to make data calls. Hotel Wi Fi seems to work fine for WhatsApp calls, but it seems to only work if your account was originally registered in a country where WhatsApp calls are approved. I would say do your research on this one. I was able to use FaceTime to speak to my family as my kids were back home with my family. And speaking of kids, tip number 8 is about kids. We didn't take our kids with us, and I don't regret not taking them, but I imagine it would be so beautiful to take them, inshallah. May Allah make it easy. Anyway, if you do take your kids, please get them tracking bracelets. There are stations where you can get the bracelets at the Haram in Mecca and in Medina. The wristband or the bracelet will have your child's information and your contact details in case the child gets lost. I held on tightly to Mr. A the whole time because the child in me was so worried that we would lose each other. Tip number 9, plan your itinerary. I can never say this word, help. I'll just say schedule to avoid embarrassing you. So, my recommendation for your schedule is arrive at King Abdulaziz International Airport in Medina, which is just 15 to 20 minutes drive away from the Prophet's Mosque. This way, you can stay a few days in Medina and get into the zone before you head out to Mecca for Umrah. Then take the Haramain train, which you should try to book in advance, by the way, for cheaper tickets. Also, book a return trip. There will be an announcement without a few minutes of departing Medina on the train to let you know when you're crossing the Miqat. And you can do your dhikr and watch the scenery as you make your way to Mecca. Keep in mind the Haramain trains only allow one travel bag and one hand luggage per person. We left our luggage at the hotel concierge in Medina. We went to Mecca with only hand luggage, and alhamdulillah, it worked out well. Stay a few days in Mecca, where my heart still is, and then take the train back to Medina for your departure from King Abdulaziz International Airport. Okay? And finally, tip number 10 is prepare your dua list. I was quite busy in the weeks leading up to Umrah, and our trip was not confirmed literally until the last minute. On top of that, I got sick just before we traveled, and even while we were in Medina, subhanAllah. Long story short, I was not on top of things regarding my dua list. But don't put off organizing your du'as and du'a lists because you'll think that you have time, but honestly, time just really flies by when you're there. Walking and just getting around takes a lot of time out of the limited time that you have. So be sure to be super ready. Know what you want to make du'a for. If you want to keep it super simple, I have a 3-step guide for you. Step number 1, make a list of du'as from the Quran and the Sunnah that you would like to keep on reciting, like du'as for forgiveness, for Jannah, for guidance, for rizq. Step number 2, think about the 4 main areas of your life: your deen, relationships, your health, and your wealth. And then write down what you want to ask Allah for in these areas. Step number 3, write down the du'as that you want to make for your family, your friends, and the Muslim Ummah. Remember the people who are suffering in your du'as, the people that are sick, the people who have passed away as well. If you want a deeper dive into preparing your du'a list, especially for the last 10 days of Ramadan, I encourage you to check out my workshop called Beyond the Vision Board, where I guide you towards more gratitude, more dreams, and more dua in a way that is aligned with the things that truly matter to you. I will leave a link to that in the description. Let me know if you found any of these tips helpful. May Allah accept your Umrah. Please remember me and my family in your dua, okay? Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.